Welcome to my channel, The Binge Eating Therapist. I'm Sarah, former binge eater turned psychotherapist. And I want to talk to you if you're someone who struggles with food and making food decisions is a real challenge for you. Chances are what you just want is to get to a place where you don't have to worry about food, you don't have to think about food, it all takes care of itself and you can free up mental space to just get on with life. I've mentioned a few times in my videos about the idea of gentle negotiation, which is how we have to negotiate with ourselves about what we're going to eat. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, for the rest of our lives, we're going to have to negotiate with ourselves around food. And when you're so focused on what you think the food decision should be, you end up getting in this conflict with yourself. So when we are healing from these eating struggles, figuring out how to make decisions around food rather than what we think those decisions should be, I think is the goal. So I'm not here to tell you what to eat. I'm here to offer some advice about how to make decisions about what to eat. Before we begin, I need to tell you, YouTube reached out to me this week to tell me they are restricting some of my videos. And this is because they're setting up new guidelines around eating problems. I'm not sure I'm even allowed to say the D word anymore, to try and protect people from harm. They can't seem to tell the difference between content that's actually trying to help. What this means for you is if you are under 18 or if you're an adult who watches YouTube but doesn't sign in when you watch YouTube, some of my videos are going to be hidden from you. So whilst you'll rarely hear me encouraging people to subscribe to my channel because I don't really care about the numbers of subscribers, I do care about people being able to see my videos and making the choice about whether to watch them or not. So if you're an adult, please sign in and subscribe. If you're under 18, I cannot advise you about how to get around it. That would be irresponsible. Anyway, back to negotiation around food. So I think one of the biggest challenges around this is most people are saying to themselves, what is the right decision to make? You're always trying to make the right decision around food. And this is exactly what leads to chaotic eating. It's always trying to get something right that has so much flux and so much movement to our appetites and what's available and how foods make us feel. And so the first thing I want to offer that encompasses everything I'm going to talk about today is a reframe of, rather than trying to make the right decision, what we're trying to do here is make a calm decision. Because if you are stressed, if you are anxious, if you're tired, if you're not feeling calm, that impacts our ability to make decisions about anything. Food, especially when we're trying to feel into ourselves and get a sense of what we might need. When we focus on making a calm decision, what that offers us is the opportunity for a bit of perspective. It means our thinking is a little bit clearer, and it means we can learn better. And what we're trying to learn is what a healthy relationship with food looks like. We're trying to learn how it is to feel free and easy around food. So I'm not saying that this is going to be the case every time. Sometimes we have to make decisions and we're just not in a calm place. We can't get ourselves into a calm place. That's fine. But if we are shifting the intention to calm decisions rather than right decisions, that is going to serve you so much better in the long run. So making a calm decision is going to look like trying to ground yourself, trying to reassure yourself in the moment. It's okay. I don't have to get this right. Just trying to make a calm decision. We need to remind ourselves that we're safe and that we are okay human beings, regardless of what we end up eating, because that is the whole bedrock of eating problems. It sounds so clunky when I can't say the D word. Because of course, self-worth and how you're eating and how your body might be changing is all tied up. How you feel about yourself is hinged on how you're eating. And recovery involves loosening that tight entwining of those two things, because it really makes us suffer in our mental health. So it's all very well then saying, when you're trying to make food decisions, oh, what does my body want? What do I feel like? But ultimately, the first thing we need to consider is, what are your options? And there will be times in your life where your options are very narrow and small. Maybe even times when it's not an option, you're having to eat what's been given to you. And there will be times when your options are wide. And what we need is a balance of the two. So making some decisions ahead of time and having fewer options frees up a bit of headspace. There's a very specific part of the brain, I forget the name of it now, that's involved in decision making, but it gets tired. So the more you are fighting with yourself about what to eat throughout the day, your decision making process is exhausted by the evening. So no wonder it's evening time, amongst other reasons, why people are feeling the most out of control around food. So in order to negotiate with yourself around options, we are looking for a balance of planning and spontaneity, and having both of those things. So asking yourself honestly, how much planning am I doing around food? And also asking yourself, how much spontaneity do I have around food? When you weigh these up in your mind now, is there one that you're like, oh, I do way more of that than the other? Because we need the spontaneity because we need to feel free. You might think, I don't want freedom, I want control. But if you've got a rebel in you that seems to self-sabotage, believe me, there is a part of you that longs for freedom. So then, speaking of parts, we need to listen to those parts. A good negotiator listens to all sides before they begin negotiating, making decisions about what's going to happen. Because this is what we're doing here. We're trying to bring you in as the observer to look at options, parts, my emotional state. How can I balance these things as best I can? And the practice of this really moves you away from the black and white thinking, but it's really difficult to do when you're in the black and white thinking, which is another reason why making a calm decision is so important. Because when we are calmer, we can see more shades of grey. Whereas if we are stressed and in a heightened state of emotion, we tend to become a bit more black and white. So what does listening to parts sound like, right? Because there is a part of you that is like the voice of the eating problem. Let's call it the diet culture voice. I'm allowed to say diet culture. So the diet culture voice is going to judge and say, no, you should be eating like this. No, you've eaten too much. No this, no that, yes this, yes that. Like, it's very fixed about what's right and wrong around food. Now, that voice, whichever voice is the loudest, tends to be the one that gets our attention. But as the negotiator, we want to look at the parts and go, oh, that's the diet culture voice. Yes, it's loud. But if you fight with that voice or you argue with it, it's going to argue back. So we don't want to argue with the voice. If you can approach that part from a sense of understanding, first of all, chances are you know where it came from, right? We've all grown up soaked in this culture, and maybe you had a lot of it in the home as well. So these messages got absorbed, these judgments about food. Maybe you call it the judger. Wouldn't that just be the judge? Let's call it the judge. I don't know why I keep changing the name. Call it whatever you want, whatever makes sense for you, as long as you can recognize this part. And when we understand why it exists and we accept that it exists, because this is the thing, you don't want that part because that part has caused you a lot of problems and it doesn't make you feel good about yourself either. So in order to listen to the part without engaging in it, we name it, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that's that part. And I know why it's here. And it's okay that it's here. But I am trying to make a calm decision. So you're bringing your intention back to this overarching thing. Until you can make calm decisions around food, you won't be free. So rather than worrying about making the right one, we're after freedom here, assuming that's what you want. It's what I wanted. And I think it's the path out for most people. And there might be another part that you feel like that's the part that just wants to eat everything in sight. You might think of that as the binger. And you don't want that part in to make the decisions, right? But you might feel tense and annoyed if that part gets loud. But again, this is about respecting the different parts of ourselves, because when I'm talking about negotiation, we're talking about trying to move out of conflict. And we can't move out of conflict with ourselves when we are so rejecting of these different parts, because we don't like them, right? Because look at the trouble it's caused you. Look at where it's left you with food. You're sitting here having to watch one of my videos because of these parts. Oh, why don't they just go away? Well, they don't. And the trying to make them go away is kind of what makes them stay longer. This is the paradox. So same with the binge part. It's like, it's okay that you're here, but you're not giving me this calm decision either. So what are the parts that we want to listen to? Well, one part, there's a part of us that wants satisfaction. This idea of what is personally satisfying to me when I'm trying to make this food choice. When we talk about food freedom or intuitive eating, so many people interpret this as kind of okay, what the hell, I can eat whatever I want. It doesn't matter. I don't have to think about food. Great. If I do this thing, I don't have to think about food. That, I think, is the biggest mistake. And then people will feel more out of control with food again, and they'll say, this permission thing doesn't work. Because there's two parts that we want to balance over the space of the days, weeks, and months. Can't always be balanced in one food decision. And that is the personal satisfaction part and the simple nutrition wisdom. And I say simple because there are parts of you that have a lot of information about nutrition and probably conflicting information about nutrition in you. So no wonder we're all confused about what to eat, even those that don't consider themselves as people that particularly struggle with food or body image. I've done a video on gentle nutrition tips that I will link to at the end. So when we're talking about nutrition wisdom is different to knowledge, right? Wisdom is more discerning than knowledge. When I think of basic nutrition wisdoms, I think of fiber is great at leveling out our blood sugar so that we don't have these crashes and we're not having these big cravings. I think of the idea that the most satisfying combination of foods is carbohydrate, proteins and fat consumed together. That is the most satisfying. I think of fruits and vegetables as having a lot of vitamins and minerals that our bodies love. These are the gentle nutrition wisdoms, rather than, oh, how many calories have I eaten today? How many calories should I eat today? You don't know that information, right? You don't know how many calories your body wants. So anytime you are thinking about nutrition, asking yourself, is this gentle nutrition wisdom? Or is this much more specific? And maybe you get more specific going forward, but if you're somebody who struggles with these kinds of eating problems and food decisions are so stressful, you need to learn calm decision making first before making any other nutrition tweaks. Just stick with these wisdoms. If you make it more complex, you're just going to introduce too many different parts, like too many cooks spoil the broth. So when you get to this point, when you have set the intention that it is a calm decision you want, you've grounded yourself as best you can, you've considered options, and you've listened with interest and non-resistance to the different parts of you, and reasserted which parts you want to be involved in this decision making, then you decide and test. So you're not just, oh, if I go through all these things, then I should make, that's the best decision I can make. We don't know. Like, you're still trying to figure this stuff out. It's an experiment. You're learning about yourself. If you are trying to come back to a place where you can trust yourself, trust your body, trust your feedback about how certain foods make you feel, then that involves sometimes making decisions where afterwards you go, I wish I'd made a different decision. Food regret is fine when we use it to learn, when we don't let it throw us into the guilt or shame or disgust even. We're feeling these big feelings about what we ate. It takes the pressure off when the decision is I'm deciding and testing. Not, okay, that's my decision, I've made it now, and boy, I hope it's a good one. Because the testing gives you the feedback that you need so that this is a gradual learning process. This is repetitive. You'll want to go into this, if you try out these things, of course, you'll want to go into this and get it right from the first moment. And if you make a decision, you're like, oh, that was a terrible decision, or you ended up losing control and you binged, you're going to go, oh, that was a load of rubbish, I need the rules again. But if we're going into it going like, I'm testing, I'm experimenting, you don't learn this stuff through watching my videos. You learn this stuff through experience, through taking what you hear and then testing it out for yourself. If you're someone who's been watching my videos for a while, you might be wondering if an acronym is coming. Yes, it is. Because a calm decision involves being able to ground yourself well enough. It involves options, which is sometimes thinking ahead, sometimes in the moment. It involves being able to listen to the different parts and acknowledge them and reassert where you want these decisions to come from. And it's deciding and testing out. And if you're able to do this, I think your decision will be gold. But don't just take it from me, try it out for yourself. And if you want to check out the video on gentle nutrition for binge eating, you can check that out here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.